Hello everyone. I'm going to be trying my hand at another round against the Automa here. Made some changes to my setup and some equipment since the last time I tried this. So hopefully some improvements, but for the most part we're just going to be running through another game of Wingspan solo against the Automa. I'll be using the base game, and both the European and Oceania expansions. The Asia expansion is very near to release, but I do not have my hands on it quite yet. So we're just running with those three for the moment. I'm also going to be using the Wingmate iOS app once again. Pull it up on screen here, which just really makes playing against the Automa much smoother without having to physically manage all of the additional cards, and it does a lot of the math and things behind the scenes for you. But to get started, we'll go ahead and get everything shuffled up. These white cards are the bonus cards, as you can see here. And all of the ones in the teal sleeves are bird cards. Everything else will hopefully come through pretty well on the screen. I've noticed that the camera that I'm using here is pretty sharp up until about here, and it gets a little blurry. Luckily, I've set it up so it's mostly just going to be those sorts of things. Just the board on this side, and then I'm going to have stuff on the left side from Wingmate covering up that area anyway. So we're not going to be using the left side for anything worth reading too much. Okay, so as you can see up there in the top center, I've got my 5 food and my 1 nectar that we start with at the beginning of the game. Obviously, I'll be reducing that amount of food based on how many bird cards I keep from my opening hand. These sections here are just the food supply. To the right of my personal supply is the big thing of eggs. And then to the right of that is the bird feeder. I still have to roll the dice. It's actually a dice tower, which is just off screen right here. So you'll see me throughout this kind of pick the dice up, pull them off screen briefly to dump them into the dice tower. It'll make a nice satisfying clang as they go down and fall into the tray there. And then here we've got the bird tray, where we'll see the 3 available birds in the center row. And it also has some little slots in here where I'll put a bunch of the cards, so every time these need to be replaced, I'll just be able to grab it and flip it up real quick, which should be pretty nice. And then this area down here doesn't necessarily have a specific in-game purpose at the moment, so I'll probably use it to kind of house the bonus cards that I have. They can just stay face up, and then depending on how big my hand is at any given time, maybe I'll have the bird cards in my hand to kind of hang out in that area as well. These 8 little cute birds are the action cubes that I'll be using. So those are just some 3D printed things that I purchased, make the action cubes a little bit cuter and more fun. So I think that sort of covers the layout, the pieces. Obviously these are the end of round goals, and I'll be picking from that and then plugging them into Wingmate. It's easier to do that than it is the other way around. But okay, so for the time being, let's get some bird cards shoved in here. That's too many. Doubt that I'll go through any of those individual stacks. I'll just stick the extras just off screen here to the left, just in case we end up needing them. I can have them within arm's reach. And just to keep the play area clean, I'll probably leave the bonus card deck and discard piles off screen as well. But in the event that I get one of the very rare effects that cares about the discard pile, I'll pull them in. Okay, so I suppose to start, we should mix up these end of round goal tiles. So typically what I do is shuffle them up a bit and then just sort of drop them out. Alright, so those will be the 4 that we use for this game. Looks like we have eggs in platform nests, birds with tucked cards, birds in the grassland, and then ground nest birds with eggs. So a lot of end of round goals from the base game. Just one from the European expansion here. But those can, I suppose, hang out up there. That's mostly just for my own personal reference. I suppose I can do it like this. Save a bit of space there. Because the Wingmate app will keep track of that. So now that those are selected, let's pull up Wingmate. I am going to be playing on the higher difficulty, which means that bird cards, face down bird cards, are worth 5. The other difficulties are 4 and 3 respectively. And I have the Automa Society and Automa's Horde enabled as well. I'll go ahead and be purple. Automa can be red. Alright, so we had eggs and platform nests, and then birds with tucked cards, and birds in grassland, and ground nest birds with eggs. There we go. So those will be the end of round goals that we are competing for. Obviously, I'll be going first, and then I'm going to swap over to this layout. Over here, I guess I can use my mouse a little bit, I think. No, maybe not. It's not picking up my mouse at all. That's okay. But over on the left is where you'll see the active card, as well as the interface on top that says Automa's Horde. That's not the Horde itself. Those are just the buttons that I have to press in order to give the Automa things to go in the Horde. But every time it's the Automa's turn, a card will appear there. You'll see that very shortly. In the bottom left, down here, this will be all of the different ways that the Automa is gaining points. So we've got, face up bird cards, face down bird cards, eggs, and then feathers representing the total number of points. And then, as you can see, one of the nice things, it shows the current end of round goal there, and the app sort of already knows what the starting value that the Automa has for that end of round goal, and then it's keeping track of the number of action cubes, so we can always make a very easy, quick reference to how are we doing against Automa for the end of round goal, help us make some quick decisions. And then down here is the horde is on the left. That's what the 5 food symbols with the 0 underneath it mean. I can just show you real quick. Whenever I tap add 1 food to the horde, you can see that number goes up and we get a little high-pitched noise. So if you hear that, that's just me tapping on the screen, giving things to the horde. You can see if I give it an egg, it gets 3. If I give it a card, it gets 2. If I give it a nectar, it gets 2. And you can also see down there in the lower left, whenever the horde gets multiples of 3, it gains a whole point, and it's using the eggs to represent that. So the eggs go up and the feather symbol points go up at the same time. So 1, 2, 3, now it goes to 2. So I'm just going to tap undo, get us back to that. And then next to the horde, we've got the 3 nectar values. At least at this difficulty, it starts with 5, and then at the end of each round, they increase or decrease based on some random rolling. I think for the most part, it tends to go up by 1 or 2 on average. Very rarely does it go down consistently. So it is quite difficult to compete for nectar against the Automa, but we'll see what we can do. Usually I try to just go for like 1 or 2 and sort of let it have at least 1, because it is typically pretty impossible to try to compete for all 3. That said, let's go ahead and select our bonus card for the Automa. Birds with tucked cards. I believe... I think that's not allowed for the Automa. There we go. Birds that eat wild food. So I'll just stick that up here. It's a little blurry, but that'll be our representation of the bonus card for the Automa. So that can be a tricky one. 16% of cards, so it's hard to manipulate the bird tray with that bonus card because it's such a low percentage of cards. But hopefully we can make it work. All right, so I'll deal myself 2 bonus cards, and then I'm going to set the stack off screen here, and then I'll draw 5 bird cards as well. Oh my goodness. Well, incredibly lucky yet again here to have the Franklin's Gull as a starting card. So there's a good chance that we'll be able to at least compete with the Automa based solely on the back of this Franklin's Gull. Birds that can only live in grassland. Now, because we're probably going to be playing the Franklin's Gull here in the grassland, if we want to max 8 points and this one can live in multiple habitats, the remaining 4 would all have to be solo grassland things, which is not impossible, especially if we're drawing a ton of cards with the Franklin's Gull. But birds with platform nests, I think it's more likely that we'll be able to kind of manipulate our way into getting 6 or more birds with platform nests, especially since the gull, and I'll probably be keeping this puffin too, especially since both of those are wild to start with. Also, the round 1 end of round goal is eggs and platform nests, so we're already sort of kind of wanting to gear up for platform nests early. So I think I'm going to choose to do that. discard pile for that over there. So we'll try Platform Builder. And then obviously we're going to keep the Franklin's Gull. I think I'd rather keep the Puffin over the Warbler, even though they're both similar effects, this being a wild nest and twice as many points but only one more food. The White-Throated Dipper, when activated, discard all remaining face-up bird cards and refill the tray. If you do, draw one of the new ones. So it is a guaranteed new card. It does give us some control over manipulating the tray, which can be useful. That said, I suspect we're not going to be activating the wetlands very often given our Franklin's Gull opening hand. So I think I'm probably just going to keep those two birds. I don't think the common blackbird is where we need to start. Placing it sideways here is like, I don't know, we're not getting super far into additional food early. We'd basically have to play it here to make any meaningful jump in the amount of food we get. So that's pretty far away. So okay, I'm gonna discard pile will be over here on the right. So we've got the Gull, we've got the Atlantic Puffin. I suppose I also should have flipped these up in case that helped with those decisions. Wow. The American Crow, along with the Franklin's Gull, seems pretty good. It's not as good as the Ravens, but still a totally reasonable start. The Gray-Headed Mannequin is very interesting. This is also a platform nest bird, just for the record. So it's probably worth grabbing that. It's also, well, it's hard to say because it's a wild food for the omnivore expert that the Automa has, and it's only worth 4. It's better for it to take this than a face down card, but you know, I think it would benefit us having that. The Gray-Headed Mannequin has a game end power to play a bird for a normal food cost but with a 1 egg discount. What I have found frustrating with this sort of power is I would like to be able to spend nectar on that game end power, but the sequence of events that happen at the end of the game don't allow that. You have to discard all your nectar before game end powers activate. Round end powers happen before nectar goes away, but game end does not. I've gotten bitten by that a few times. It still wouldn't be a terrible one to pick up, especially since we're going to be like churning through and having a bunch of cards in our hand. Being able to kind of get away with an extra action. This would also be another wild nest. If I could somehow get away with turn 1 Franklin's Gull, turn 2 activate, to draw both of these, that would feel pretty good. I'm not entirely sure if it's worth the risk just because of how valuable I think the Crow is going to be. So, and the Mannequin, I can sort of take it or leave it. So I think the plan will be turn 1, probably draw this. Turn 2, we'll probably play the Gull. Turn 3, activate here. Turn 4, play the Crow. And start going to town that way. Okay, so we definitely want to keep a fish, and then our Puffin requires a lot of fish, but the other food doesn't matter all that much. I guess I'll keep a seed in case I end up picking this up, but I think that'll be the start. So we'll go ahead, turn one, we'll draw the American crow, put that in our hand, and that'll be the end of this turn. And so now we can see, wow, well, I'm glad that I drew the crow, because immediately the Automa would have taken it. So we can see over here on the left, this is where the Automa cards are going to be showing up. So does the bird meet the requirements? No. When you're playing with physical cards, you're actually like drawing cards and putting them in a stack, which I guess can have like some effect of removing cards from the pool of available birds later in the game, but the stack is so large and they're random cards, I'm not going to physically worry about doing that since the app is keeping track of the numbers. So all right, well, the Automa has 5 points already, which is kind of annoying, but nothing to be done about that. Okay, definitely going to start with the gull. There is some argument to starting with the crow, but the crow says you have to discard eggs from other birds, whereas the gull you can discard from itself, and so we wouldn't be able to take advantage of the crow until we play something else anyway. So we'll play a bird. I'm going to spend a fish, and I'll go ahead and spend an invertebrate. I'll save the nectar. Maybe we can use that on the puffin before too long. So that'll be that turn. Turn 2 for the Automa. Once again, gaining a full 5 points here and an action cube. So a little spooky. We do have 4 available egg slots here for platform, so I'm not super worried quite yet, but we'll see how this goes. All right, let's lay eggs. We'll lay 2 on the Franklin's gull, and then, yes, clearly we will pitch 1 to draw 2 cards. I think I'll start by drawing a random card. Oh wow, the red-legged partridge. That does seem pretty strong if we can get the whole column filled, especially since we're going to be like discarding to the gull and discarding from the crow. It does seem really challenging to get a whole column filled, especially if we're going to be like, the crow's going to probably be here and the partridge is going to be here, so we'd have to play 6 other birds. I'm not certain that that's going to be part of our plan, but I will go ahead and with the second card draw pick up the gray-headed mannequin. We'll see if we can make that work. Zuli bunting. The bunting is also, it wouldn't be bad for us. It'd probably be better than the red-legged partridge, especially if we end up with 3 wild nests in play, and we can sort of activate this, get 2 extra eggs every time. Even though we'd be giving the Automa points, I think we'd be able to take advantage of it pretty significantly. So that's that turn. Okay. Oh, I didn't even roll the food up here. Not that it has mattered yet, but all right. So they are going to take all of the fruit, and we have no pink powers to activate. So that's that. On our turn, I do think it's probably worth playing the Crow. Start sort of generating cards and a nectar. So I'm going to spend a seed and an egg to play the Crow here. And hopefully that's a decent setup. Wouldn't mind drawing this, but it's very expensive, so I'm also not opposed to the Automa getting rid of it. Let's see, all it's doing is laying an egg, one of the weaker turns that it could have, so I'm all about that. They have 2 points towards the end of round goal at the moment, but we have now reached the point where we can start pitching cards for eggs, which with the Franklin's Gull is very strong. So we'll be definitely doing that. I think we can safely get rid of the red-legged partridge, but let's go ahead and do this step by step before I start shortcutting later. Alright, so lay 2 eggs, and then I will discard the red-legged partridge to lay a 3rd egg, and then we'll activate the Crow, remove one from another bird to get a nectar, and then the Franklin's Gull. I'll go ahead and remove it from the Crow to draw 2 cards. And once again, I'll just draw one from here. Greater Roadrunner. Pretty mediocre card. It is a platform nest bird. The activation, for such an expensive predator, only eating things that are less than 50 centimeters wingspan is pretty weak. I think that's like a little less than 50% chance. So we wouldn't want to play it in the hopes of like activating it a ton of times to get points, but at minimum we have drawn it, and so our omnivore expert Automa doesn't get 7 points for it. I will go ahead and pick up the lazuli bunting. I'm sort of interested to see if we can get there on that. Okay, so that's there. Yeah, if we can get the bunting here, I think we'd be pretty happy activating this area, being able to like pitch 2 cards for 2 eggs. Just really churn through the deck, try to find some cards that we want. Short-toed tree creeper is coming up next. Certainly very powerful. We'll have to see. It's possible that we might want that, but I don't know. It seems hard to engineer a scenario where we'd want to. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Turn 5. They are going to reset the bird tray anyway, so no chance. That's what that does. Okay. All right. And they get a thing there. So 3 turns left. They have 3 points, 3 eggs towards the end of round goal. Man. I think we want to leave the black-shinned hummingbird there because it's worth less than 5 points. So if they end up drawing a bird card, that would be beneficial for us. The Inca Dove is cute, especially since late in the game we're hoping to have, at least 6 birds with platform nests. So it's possible that this turn we end up drawing that and kind of hanging on to it until like turn 25 or something. It'd be pretty cool if we could play that as one of the final things, or maybe like that's what we do with the gray-headed mannequins game end activation, since we don't really need it before then. So could be interesting. All right. I think for the last 3 turns, the plan is going to be I think we want to activate this. We'll draw some cards, including the Inca Dove. We'll get our 3rd nectar. We'll spend all 3 of our nectar on the lazuli bunting here, and then the last turn of this round we'll activate this. The bunting can put eggs on both of these, and hopefully that'll give us we'll end up with 4 eggs, which will hopefully be enough to compete with the Automa for the round 1 end of round goal. Even if we get 2nd place, it's not a disaster, but we're gonna make them earn it, I think. So, all right. So let's do this. Get 2 eggs. Put them like that. I think I'm going to pitch the Greater Roadrunner. It seems very unlikely that we're going to want to play that this game, especially if we end up all 3 of these in the grassland. We don't even have room for that. So pitch that for another egg. We'll discard this for a nectar from our crow, and we'll discard this for 2 cards. I'll just draw 1 here. We have the pink-eared duck. Draw 2, keep 1, and give 1 to another player. Unfortunate. That would have been better to have the Automa pick up from the center row, but not a disaster. We can easily discard it for more eggs later. And I'll grab the Inca Dove. It's possible that it won't be worth enough points for us to actually play late in the game, but if we can turn it into like a 10-point card, it'd be pretty good. So turn 6 for that. Oh, we gotta flip this up. All right, so it does meet the requirements because it's going to pick up the hummingbird here, which I suppose I'll just put under there. So it's a 4-point thing, and it loses an action cube for the end of round goal. So feeling reasonably confident that we'll snag this end of round goal. Thinking ahead to the round 2, birds with tucked cards. I don't even know if we've seen birds with tucked cards. I guess the dick thistle is a bird that can tuck cards, but I think that's the only one we've even seen so far. The Greater Roadrunner as well, but I don't think we were ever going to try to do that. So odds are that we're not going to be super competitive for the round 2 goal, but clearly we're going to be pretty competitive for round 3. And then given the number of potential wild nests we have, hopefully we can put up a fight for the round 4 one as well, which may further incentivize us to get the dick thistle. Dick thistle is also beneficial just because trading 1 egg for 2 cards, trade a card for an egg, that's a beneficial exchange that comes out in our favor there. So we'll have to see. I'm getting close to being like overloaded here. We certainly don't have room for all 4 of these, so we'll have to consider it's possible the Inca Dove or the gray-headed mannequin goes by the wayside. The mannequin can play with its game and power in any habitat, so we're not limited to playing in here like some of those. In any case, let's continue on with our plan of we're going to play a bird, we're going to play the lazuli bunting here. We'll spend our 3 nectar to do so. I think it's better doing this than spending on the Atlantic puffin. I think I'd rather do that late, or later at least. even though, you know, in general, getting access to the bonus cards earlier can help, you know, make some smarter decisions, give you more direction if you need like tiebreakers. But tiebreakers in terms of I'm not sure which of these two is better for me, you know, having another bonus card to help provide more information about those decisions can help. But, you know, our game plan is pretty set up at the moment. It's hard for me to imagine making a lot of different decisions here in the next like 5 turns based on another bonus card in our hand. But this we're going to get guaranteed extra advantage out of right away. So we'll stick with that. I don't think I appropriately spent my egg, but yeah, so spend my egg there. Turn 7 for the Automa. None of these have wild food. The Automa's at 25 already, so a little rough there. But all right. If we end up with 4 eggs on these two, we will win this end of round goal. So let's make that happen for sure. Okay, so we're going to get 2 eggs, which I'll put them here since the bunting will fill up the gull. We could certainly discard some number of cards here in order to get a few more eggs, which I think we want to. We're definitely going to get rid of this pink-eared duck. That's not necessary for us. So that'll be 1 egg. I think the Inca Dove is going to be the last one to go. Still holding out a little hope for the mannequin here. It's possible we discard that eventually too, but you know, we'll start with that. Get a 4th egg. Okay. And then the bunting I will activate. So all players lay 1 on any bull nest bird, which I'll do, and also give 1 to the Automa. And I may lay an additional 1. So do that. The crow. Definitely want to get a food. Obviously not nectar. So, oops. Pitch an egg from the bunting. We'll get a fish since our puffin is very fish hungry and we're very likely to play that this game. And then I'll pitch an egg from the bunting to draw 2 cards. I think we'll probably pick up the dig thistle unless I see something. Oh wow. That's pretty good. So you can pitch a seed to tuck 2 each time you activate the Sandhill Crane. And we have a crow here that can allow us to pitch an egg to get a seed. Man. Yeah. I'll grab both of these, I suppose. And that'll be my draw there. Remove the 2 eggs. Flip this up. Let's see what this does. It's going to take food, so it's going to take this one. We have no pink powers. Okay, so it's going to. I guess we'll hop back over to this screen now. Yeah, this is the bonus card discard pile here. Just the spent nectar. Wow. Went down in the wetlands by 1, but the other 2 remained at 5. So maybe there's a chance we'll mess with that. Although if we're just going to be sitting here kind of activating the Sandhill Crane and the dig thistle a bunch of times. I don't know, we might not even really expand into these other areas except to play, you know, big point birds, you know, kind of like this or the puffin or whatever. But okay, so let's score the end of round goal. So we have 4 eggs, which I guess I can hide this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's add 2, so we ended up snagging our 4 points there. And now we're back to round 2. Switch back to this screen here. We're gonna reset the tray. All right. Western Meadowlark is another one of those. Everybody lays an egg and you get another one. The black-crowned night heron is a 9-point bird. It's also a platform nest bird. Maybe worth picking up just as a, you know, play it late in the game sort of thing. Could end up being worth a lot if it's worth 9 and it bumps us up from the 4 points to the 7 points here. That could be sort of a 12-point bird in that sense. But okay. Let's take these off the board again. Okay. And I'm just going to leave this here kind of as a representation that that round is done. So it's a little unfortunate. What is our plan? Like, if we're going to stick with these cards, getting the Sandhill Crane and the Dixisol in play will be pretty good because they both tuck cards. And as we can see down here, the Automa starts with -1. So even us just having 2 birds with tucked cards makes us a little competitive. Having at least 1 bird with a tucked card will guarantee a 2nd place. So we want to get one of those in play with a tucked card before the end of this round for sure. If we activate the Lazuli Bunting, we can't really get away with doing that because we can't put 2 eggs on the same bird and the order in which these are laid. So our food gain is slow at the moment, and these are both very food hungry. It's possible that like the Dixisol is too food hungry for us to get in play even this round. It would probably be beneficial to start being able to like take a turn off to gain multiple food. We do have an abundance of cards, so we can easily do that. If we were to gain food, discard a card, gain another food, we could get 1 nectar and then re-roll, probably get a 2nd nectar, and that'll give us the opportunity to like put the Sandhill Crane in play. Or the Dixisol in play. I guess the Sandhill Crane is the only one we could do with 2 nectar because this this fish could be spent as the wild food. I think that's worth doing before we try to activate here again, because we could like spend eggs off of this, which gives us a reason to activate the bunting again. We wouldn't be able to activate the sandhill crane immediately because we wouldn't have any seeds, but we could go through once, get the seed from the crow. Alternatively, after we re-roll, we can decide maybe we want to get food 2 turns in a row up there, kind of stock up on maybe some seeds, and then move in. So let's start with that. Let's see how that goes. So take a nectar, and then I'm gonna pitch the gray-headed mannequin. Didn't end up working out with that. To get a second food from the bird feeder, and I'll go ahead and take a nectar. So got that. Let's see what the Automa does. Just gonna gain 5. Bit of a struggle on that front. Okay, so we could play the Sandhill Crane. We could also get 2 food, get a nectar and a seed, then play the Sandhill Crane, and then activate here. And then we'd have 3 rounds left to kind of figure out where we're at in terms of the end of round goal and how much work we need to do on that front. There's also this red crossbill, which is like getting additional seeds and turning them into points for the Sandhill Crane is not nothing. I suppose there's also the consideration, if we were to gain food now, we'd have to discard one of these to get a second food. And at the moment, I'm not 100% that I want to discard any of them. So perhaps we start here. Get some extra cards, get another, either a nectar or a seed. Yeah. I think that's probably correct. Yeah, it would be nice to get 1 bird here so that we could start getting 2 food. It'd be nice to get to here, honestly, but getting punished for discarding that bird sideways thing, hadn't quite thought through that this would possibly be the scenario we end up in. But okay, let's go ahead and do this. We'll lay 2 eggs on the bunting. We will not activate the bunting. We will activate the crow. So let's take 1 off of there, and might as well get a seed. And then take 1 off the bunting to draw 2. I'll start by drawing a random one here. The American Coot. Normally a pretty decent card. It's also a platform nest, but we're probably unlikely to be activating the wetlands very often. So that'll just be a thing we can easily discard to future things. The question is, do I care about any of these enough to try and draw them this turn? It also changes the bird tray for the Automa, potentially. think I'm in a position where I'd rather try to find something more for us. Brown kiwi, certainly interesting. It'd be a decent card to play here after we have played our Atlantic Puffin, because then we'll have a bit more information about if there's a bonus card we want to get rid of. I don't think we want to get rid of this one yet, but it's another star nest. So if we were to have these two and these two in play, that's at least 4 birds, so that's 4 points from this. We'd still need 2 more to get to the maxed out version, but you know, maybe the coot would be something we'd try to do. Not 100% sure. All right. Let's see what the Automa does. It's going to reset the tray, which I am not sad about. Okay. So it's up to 0 birds with tucked cards now. All right. Cockatiel. Discard a seed. Tuck 1. Reset the bird feeder. Cache something. I don't think any of those are really the things we are pursuing. So we probably just want to start by getting this Sandhill Crane online. We're running low on egg slots. Possible we just like don't activate the bunting for a bit until we get more cards in play. Could also play the Puffin. I'm just going to play the Sandhill Crane before getting too deep in my own head about lines of play. So, spend 2 nectar, and the fish is wild. We want to hang on to this to pump into the Sandhill Crane, turn it into 2 points. And we need to spend 2 eggs, so I guess we can take them both from the bunting there. The Sandhill Crane is also beneficial for the round 4 end of round goal. It only has 1 egg slot, but it only needs 1 to count for that goal. So, you know, all 3 of these other cards in my hand will also be beneficial for that end of round goal if we can get them in play by the end of round 4. Get some eggs on them. So we'll have to see. Alright, so that was my turn 3. The Automa is going to take this rodent. We have no pink power, so kind of a waste of a turn for the Automa, which I am thankful for. All right. So I'm thinking about whether I want to use this seed on the Sandhill Crane, or if we need that food for playing like these cards. Because in terms of like the current end of round goal, Getting the Dick Sissel in play and tucking a card behind it would be very beneficial. I mean, so is the Sandhill Crane, but like, I guess what's the math? We have 4 turns remaining. Is it possible to do both by the end of this round? Because if it is, we probably should pursue that. If it's not, we should probably just sort of ignore the Dick Sissel and maybe try to play like the Puffin or something. So we could certainly spend this turn, get food, pitch the American Coot for 2 food, get a nectar and a seed. That would give us enough food to play the Dick Sissel. We already have enough eggs to do that. Then, so that's 2 turns. And the turn after that, we could activate here. We wouldn't have a card that we'd be thrilled about tucking for the first turn, and we also wouldn't have any seeds left. We'd be out of food and kind of just these 2 cards remaining in our hand. So we could like skip activating the Dick Sissel and the Sandhill Crane on the 3rd turn here, but we could get a seed and we could draw some junk cards, and then activate again, and tuck behind both of these. So it is possible to do. I'm worried about running out of egg slots with that sequence, although we'd be removing 2 to play it, and we could choose not to activate the bunting, for example, so it might be worth it. And then we'd be fully set up with Birds in the Grassland anyway. We could finally start spending time down here, and really only activating this when we need to, you know, get cards or have additional things to tuck. Okay, I think that'll be the play. So let's get a nectar, and I'm going to discard the American Coot to also get a seed. That's food for this turn. The Automa is going to take the fish. It just happens to remove those as a result. Alright, it's now up to 1 bird with tucked cards, so our plan is to end up with 2. It has 3 turns remaining to gain 1. It's very possible we don't win. We might tie it. We also might lose it. But I think that's where we're at. So we'll play the Dick Sissel, spend a nectar. I'm going to do piles of 3 here. So each of these will be 3. So we've got 6 there at the moment, which is more than the Automa currently. Sadly, I don't think we'll be able to ever put more nectar down in there as a result. So we'll see if that bites me. I'll move 2 eggs, and that's that turn. The Automa is just getting 5 points because nothing in here has wild food. It's now up to 2 birds with tucked cards for the end of round goal. Very tragic. But we'll go ahead and activate here. Let's do 1, 2. Well, I guess the Dick Sissel, we don't really want to put eggs on it, because it's going to put eggs on itself a lot. Although I guess we're going to end up removing them from that. Okay, we skip those 2. I think we will go ahead and do the bunting. Right, because if we do that, we're also going to remove 2 eggs here this turn. And then we'll still have available slots. So, yeah, we give the Automa 1, place our 2 eggs there. Remove that, get a seed, and I suppose remove 1 from the gull itself to draw 2. Don't really want anything in the middle, so draw 1, draw 2. Hooded Warbler's not nothing. 7 points for 2 food. Could be something we play. It's a Bull Nest, which could help for the bunting. And then Lewin's Honey Eater. Both players get a nectar. Probably not what we really want at the moment. We'll have to see. Okay, let's see what the Automa does. Just another 5 points. All right. Pretty unlikely that we win the end of round goal or even tie it. It would have to draw a card that removes 1, but we do want to at least tuck a non-zero number of cards, so we get second place on that end of round goal. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we will tuck the Honey Eater and lay an egg here. We will discard a seed to tuck 2 under the Sandhill Crane. Scoot some things over to make room. We could activate the bunting here. So we have exactly enough slots. It does feel like we're going to run out of room here in the next couple turns anyway, so it's probably not worth giving the opponent an extra egg. So we pitch 1. Let's see. The brown kiwi needs a seed. Sandhill Crane likes seeds. I do think we're hoping to play the puffin as one of our early plays next round. So I think I'm just going to get a fish as the food there, which I removed from there. And then I guess I'll remove from the Dick Sissel again to draw 2 fresh ones. Many-colored Fruit Dove and Eleonora's Falcon. Neither of which are particularly interesting for us, but cards for us to tuck and whatnot, not the worst, and turn into food. Alright, last turn for the Automa. Oh! It gained 2 eggs and removed an action cube. So, I think we tied on this end of round goal. So it's adjusting its nectar. Forest went up by 1, wetlands went up by 1, but the grasslands went down by 1, so it's down to 4. So we're at 6, just as a reminder here, so it's possible we can get there. All right, we had 2 with tucked cards. The Automa also had 2, so we tied on that one, which is better than average, I think, for that last turn. I don't know exactly what the Automa deck had, but I think most cards would not have removed an action cube, so not the worst. All right, next round is starting. So we'll switch back to this screen, reset the bird tray. All right. Are any of these particularly interesting to us? The pipe-billed grebe is a platform nest bird. It does have 4 egg slots, but it's worth 0. It seems low on the priority list. I think I should also, I guess, reset our actions here. I think the sequence of plays that we want is like get 2 food, get a nectar and a seed, activate our grasslands. We can tuck a card, we can pitch the seed. Probably not activating that. We can get another nectar and draw some cards. So that would leave us with 2 nectar and a fish with which to play the puffin the following turn. And we'd also get to like tuck a card, tuck 2 cards in the crane. We might activate this and we'll get, you know, some more fresh cards. Yeah, I think that's at least a start, and then we'll see where things are at. We have no control over whether we are going to win this end of round goal. It is, I think on the app, it's possible. We'll have to see. I think I've seen it go above 5 on the app. I'm not sure if an update like fixed that or if there's something in the back end that prevents it from going above 5 during calculations, but it's my understanding, looking at the rule book, that they'll max out at 5 for comparison purposes. So even if, you know, they have like 6 action cubes total or whatever, they can still only have 5 for this end of round goal. So since we have 5, we're at minimum going to tie for it. So there's nothing we can do to affect that, so no mental energy to spend working on that. So let's go ahead and probably pitch this many-colored fruit dove. Yeah, if this was seeds instead of fruit, this would be a good card for us. And let's just go ahead and take a nectar and a seed, and then see what the Automa does. Man, yeah, this is rough. I mean, that's the, what is it called? I think it's the Automa Society card. It draws a bird and puts an action cube on there. So this is, you know, that's a rough card to play against. It just does that every round. I think we've hit it at least once every round so far. So tough times on that front. And it's like we haven't been able to, you know, leave a low point wild food eating bird up here for it to take when that happens. So it's just been getting the full 5 points every time. All right. Let's lay 4 eggs. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess tragically we are full. Yeah. So we don't get like a double on the Dick Sissel here. I do think it's still worth tucking a card, even though we can't fit an egg on it, but we'll just be sad. If we lose by 1, we can complain about that moment. Tuck 2 cards under the Sandhill Crane. Definitely don't need to activate the bunting. Discard an egg here to get that, and similarly, we'll pitch an egg there to draw 2 cards. don't think we want any of these in the middle. I don't know if it's worth risking a reset either. I don't have like the list of cards in front of me. I don't know if there are more like greater Roadrunner risks. If we flip up something that's worth more than 5 and it decides to draw it before we can kind of get rid of it, that'll be annoying. So I think we're just going to draw 2 here. Drew the Mute Swan, which if we end up with a dearth of cards, maybe we can play it and activate it, although, you know, I'd rather this be up here since it eats wild food and is worth less than 5. The Hawfinch, that's more what we're sort of wanting in terms of if we're going to activate the forest, get an extra seed is right up our alley. I don't know if at this point we're going to have a lot of time to mess with that. So we shall see. Drew our 2 cards. Let's see what the Automa has. It is going to reset the tray. Okay. There's a wild food, but it's just worth 5, so. The Masked Lapwing. It's a pretty exciting card. Can theoretically get you like 4 or 5 food, including some nectar, probably including a seed. It's also a ground nest for the round 4 goal, but it's only worth 1 point. And our limiting factor at the moment, our bottleneck, is food, and so 1 point for 1 food is not great, but it gets us a lot of food. So it is possible that we draw that and like see if we can find a way to use it to our advantage. Okay. I am going to go ahead and play the Atlantic Puffin finally. I think that is correct to do here. Spend our 2 nectar and our fish. We will draw 2 new bonus cards. Cartographer, birds with geography terms in their names, and backyard birder, birds worth less than 4. Currently we have exactly 1 in play that's worth less than 4, so that one's not very good. Birds with geography in their name. We currently have American and Atlantic, so we would qualify for 3. North Island, if we end up playing that soon, would be 4, or excuse me, it would be our 3rd bird. We would still need to find a 4th. I think it is more likely that we play the North Island brown kiwi and just discard the cartographer and try to find something a little bit better. So we'll keep the cartographer, discard the backyard birder. Now we have our Puffin in play. So that's that turn. Gain 3 eggs, lose 1. Probably going to win this round goal with that. With only 3 turns left, it would have to hit every turn, and even then it would only tie. So I think the odds are in our favor as far as the end of round goal here. Odds are not in our favor for nectar. I think we're like largely abandoning competing for nectar up here. It's possible that we could compete down here. We will have to see. So, okay. I think we're in a position where we want to gain some food. I think we're just like working towards playing the North Island Brown Kiwi. See if we can get some bonus cards that are worth a bunch. And so it's like we can take these 2 food, an invertebrate and a seed, both of which the kiwi eats. And then, I don't know, we could activate here, get a nectar, for example, or, you know, activate here again. It's also possible that instead of the, you know, working towards the kiwi here, we could just play the hooded warbler. Since we spend a turn getting 2 food, play the hooded warbler, and then we can just get 2 food without discarding a card. We could even start resetting first. That's not amazing, but basically I'm trying to figure out if there's a way we can engineer a scenario where the next time that we are activating our grassland, we have an extra seed to pump into the sandhill crane. It's challenging because we could gain 2 food, let's say. Yeah, we can't get 2 seeds and then play the Hawfinch, which would probably be what we'd really want to do if we could just get the food to play the Hawfinch right now. It's not going to happen. So it's like if we get 2 food and then do this again next turn, discarding, let's say, both of these cards, we could reset and probably get, you know, everything we need to play the kiwi, and then hopefully have a seed left over for the crane. Yeah, I'll have to see. If we want to try drawing the masked lapwing, we would probably want to activate here to do that. I don't think we'd want to play the masked lapwing this round, but yeah, I don't think it's super important for us to draw that, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 ground nest birds with eggs for this end of round goal. I don't know how much the Automa starts with at this difficulty off the top of my head. It's possible 5 is very good. It's also possible that 5 is like 2 below the average. So we would maybe want the masked lapwing to help us get there. I think what I'm gonna do is take 2 invertebrates, play the hooded warbler here, and then activate this as the last turn. It's possible that this is still here at that time if we want to try and maybe grab that. We will not have anything for the crane, but we will be able to pitch something here, and the warbler gives us 3 extra egg slots, so we'll be able to like fill up. It's also a bull nest. I don't know, unlikely that we actually activate that in that scenario. I think this has been the biggest mistake so far, is most of the birds we have played have had a very low egg limit, and so I haven't been able to like take advantage of activating this very often. Yeah. So it probably means I probably shouldn't have activated it all this game, because I think we've given the Automa 2 or 3 points with it, and we've already missed out on an egg here once. So yeah, if we lose by, let's say like 2 or 3 points, it'll probably be because of the lack of foresight on that card. Okay, I think we're at least going to try that. I'm going to take 2 invertebrates here. Discarding the mute swan. Discard the hawfinch. I think it doesn't matter. We're probably pitching both at some point. But, alright. That's my turn. This does meet the requirements, but it's worth 5 anyway. We'll track it. Rufous owl. Yeah, Rufus Owl is a good one. Not going to be for us this game, but I've historically liked that card. Also one of the rare birds where the beak is not pointing left or right for that one particular end of round goal. So kind of fun there. Okay. Well, no, yeah, we gotta do it this way. I'm gonna play the Hooded Warbler. Spend our 2 invertebrates. Then the Automa goes. And it's just gonna reset the tray, so no lapwing for us, but maybe it'll be something better. Oh man, this is what I want to be here. Spangled Drongo, 1 point, it eats wild food. If we can have the Automa draw it next turn, that'll be a very helpful turn for us. They are up to, or she is up to 4 for the end of round goal. So 2 in a row. It's possible that she ties us. I think the Automa is canonically female, but yeah. This Coltit would have been a nice one to have early in the game based on how this is developed. Like, we could just store the seeds there, pump them into the Sandhill Crane whenever we feel like it. Has 6 egg slots, so yeah, that would have been one of the more ideal birds for us. Too late for us to really take advantage of it now, but alas. Okay. Lay 4 eggs. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah. Alright. I'll go ahead and tuck the mute swan. Lay an egg on the tick thistle. We don't have any food for the crane. No use in activating the Zuli bunting. But we can pitch egg here. I suppose we'll get a seed. And we can pitch an egg from something else. I guess the bunting makes some sense. To draw 2 cards. Don't really want to draw from the tray, because we want to make sure that this is the lowest one available for the Automa next turn, potentially. The Rufous Night Heron and the Juniper Titmouse are the cards that I've drawn. Neither of these are of particular interest to us, I think. Alright, as far as the platform builder goes, just thinking long term, we have 1, 2, 3. So playing the brown key would be 4. Doesn't look like we're have really any chance of getting to 6. So, yeah, I think that'll sort of be the end of that. And then ideally, we'll discard the cartographer to the Kiwi's trigger, and hopefully draw some sweet bonus cards to pull us over the edge. Doesn't feel like we're winning this game at the moment, but there's a non-zero chance. Turn 6. Alright, it's taking food, which is fine by us. Because, yeah, it didn't take the Drongo, but, you know, a 0-point turn instead of a 1-point turn. Yeah. So, okay. We'll do this in the usual order here. We'll adjust the spent nectar. Yeah, it's up to 5 in the grassland again, so it's possible that we compete there. It would be beneficial to get a single nectar here, so at least we get 2 points out of it. I do think it's very likely for us to be able to do that, because on our first turn we can like take this 2 nectar, and then the turn after that we could play the North Island Brown Kiwi here, or something of that nature. And that'll get us our nectar here. So probably competing for first place on the nectar in the grassland, and then at least having nectar here for the second place 2 points on the other 2 habitats. All right. End of round. I had 5 birds in there. The Automa only had 4, so we did win that one. Looking pretty good on the end of round goals so far. Let's see. It starts with 3 for this end of round goal. It looks like for us, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think it's unlikely for us to be able to win with 5, but you know, not 0%. I think we'd be happy if we tied for that end of round goal based on the way things are going at the moment. Okay, and we also got to reset. I wish I could leave this Spangled Drongo there forever, but alas. Okay, can't even play those 2. Tough to titmouse. I think we're just going to be short on food this whole situation. So, okay. I think we have 5 turns here. So get 2 nectar. Play the North Island Brown Kiwi. Maybe the following turn we get 2 seeds, because like we're not making room with our eggs really, so activating here a bunch of times is not super beneficial. Maybe we only want to get 1 nectar in that case, in the hopes that like we can get multiple seeds from activating here. In any case, I guess we'll start by taking 1 nectar and I guess this costs 2 invertebrates and a seed. So maybe we take like this. ideally play this, activate, and we have 2 turns left. Run through this twice, pumping it through here, tucking the remaining 2 cards in our hand. Yeah, not gonna be amazing into this game. Really low on egg slots, so I probably could have played this much better. Maybe spending more turns early in the game just digging and kind of like building up some food and whatnot, as opposed to like playing this bunting so early. But we'll see what happens here. Alright, reset the bird tray. Sadly, one of the more frustrating things where it is removing an action cube, but since it doesn't have any, it's not actually removing one. It's not going down to -1. So had it drawn that in a different order, it would have been more likely to be able to take advantage of that and win the end of round goal. But as it stands, if it gets, let's say, up to 6, that'll be one of the contributing factors there. Okay, so now we're going to play a bird. Finally play our North Island brown kiwi. Just add those 2 and our 1 nectar. And when played, discard a bonus card. We're going to discard Cartographer because while we have 3, it's only worth 3 points. We're not going to get to 4+, and this is currently worth 4 points, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So this is our least valuable one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see what we got. Yeah, breeding manager. I don't even know. We have 1 bird that can even hold 4 eggs, so it's not going to be that. So we draw 4 bonus cards, keep 2, and discard the other 2. A set of 4 nest types. Well, with 3 wilds, yeah, we can basically assemble 1, so that's guaranteed 3 points. Birds with colors in their names. We have brown lazuli. I guess that's it. So nowhere near that. Breeding manager we're not getting. I guess that's 1 point. Birds that have at least 1 egg laid on them. So we're definitely going to get that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Tragically, it seems very unlikely that we get the 9th one. We'd have to take a turn off to play a bird and then still be able to activate. It's not a 0% chance. I guess I never filled these up. Oh man, the great egret. Yeah, it's possible that playing this game differently, we could have had like a big great egret Atlantic puffin kind of towards the end of the game sort of turn. So these are both guaranteed 3 points, and there's like a low but not 0% chance that this is worth 6. So we're gonna pick up those 2, discard the other 2. Is there a chance for mechanical engineer to do something? So let's see. We have ground, bull, platform, cavity. That's 1 set. And then we have ground, bull, platform, cavity. Oh, I guess we already have 2 sets, so that's incredible. Okay, so maybe we'll get an extra one out of this, but getting an 8-point bonus card was a huge upgrade there with our kiwi, so pretty good. Let's see what the Automa does to ruin our day. God, yet again, removing action cubes that aren't there. I guess it's better than putting one on, but still very annoying. Because if it had like the first 2 turns put 2 on and then 2 turns later took 2 off, we would have just swept this. But now it can still beat us if it goes 3 in a row, which it's pretty likely to do at this point, I would say. a little sad there. All right, so the only chance that we have to make the oologist work is we get some food. No, we can't. We only have 3 turns left. It would pretty much have to be like we activate this, we get a food, we draw a thing that costs 1 food this turn, then we play it, and then we lay eggs again on the last turn. So, and doing that basically means we're not activating Sandhill Crane on either of those turns. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the total egg slots we have available here. Yeah, this bunting was not good. So we activate here this turn. We fill up on eggs. We can tuck 1 card. We can remove 2 eggs to get, I don't know, let's say a nectar, or I guess a seed. I wish I knew what the odds were of drawing a bird that costs a single food. Let's assume that that's like impossible. What is the outcome if we don't play towards that at all? What's the best way to spend our next turns? It would probably be like get 2 seeds here, activate this twice, which is not amazing. Like it does put 4 under the Sandhill Crane, but, and I guess 2 under there, so that's 6. Plus it fills up our remaining eggs, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 10 points over the next 3 turns. Is there any way that either of these help us become better? So, what if we got the food, which would have to be invertebrate nectar. Then we played the Rufous Night Heron here. Use a platform nest, but I think it only brings us to 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. And then we laid eggs. We would end up removing 1 egg so we could get it back here. There's no way for us to get a seed even if we like pitched this card, so we would lose out on the Sandhill Crane activation. But how many total points is that at the end of it? If we looked like this, so let's say we would remove this. So it would be 4 eggs. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Let's say, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me activate the dick sizzle to tuck and put an egg on there. And then we can activate the bunting to put an egg here and here. So that maxes out our eggs. So we would be at like -1 for points, but then +5 +4 is 9. 10, 11, 12, and then I think we'd get 3 more points out of the oologist too, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I think that is slightly better. Is playing the juniper titmouse more advantageous in any way? Like store an extra seed somehow? Doesn't look like it. Well, I think it's kind of neutral, because we could like get 2 food, pitch this card to reset the bird feeder, and maybe get a seed that way. But the seed is worth 2 points, and then using this to like tuck and lay an egg on this is also worth 2 points if there's room, and so it ends up being neutral that way. Okay, so I think that'll be the play, is we just get food, play the night heron, lay eggs, fill everything up, and that'll be the best we can do here on the last couple turns. See how it goes. Get food. We want an invertebrate and a nectar. Not discarding a card for more. Actually, maybe it's like safer. If we get a seed, it's safer. If we don't find a seed, the odds are pretty low of us not finding a seed, but I have seen it happen. I think if I did my math right before, it's neutral, so I'm gonna let it ride and see. Alright, get 3 eggs and an action cube. Of course you get an action cube now, but 3 eggs is, I think, better than gaining 5 from like the Automa Society card. Alright, so then the plan is to play the Rufus Night Heron, spend an invertebrate and a nectar, and we spend 1 egg. And then the Automa goes, and it's going to reset the bird feeder, or the tray. Common Merganser, and it gains 5. Yep. And now, now it has enough cubes where if it adds another cube next turn, we just lose the end of round goal. Which is a little frustrating, but it's possible that the Automa is really just like wiping the floor with us here. So it may not even matter. Okay, last turn. Lay 4 eggs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lay 1 here. 2, 3, 4. Take Sissel. Can tuck this last card and lay this last egg. We do not have any food for that. we have exactly 2 slots left, so we'll activate the bunting and give the Automa an extra one there. No use in pitching eggs for resources we can't use on the last turn. So let's see what the Automa does here. Yeah, of course, gets 3 eggs and it takes first place on the end of round goal. Oh, a tragedy. Yeah, the sequencing there, had it done it in any other order for those 5 cards, we would have tied the end of round goal, possibly won in some of those scenarios, but okay. Let's adjust its spent nectar. Dang, it even tied us here. Frustrating. Couldn't have just stayed at 5 or even lost more. So, okay. It certainly wasn't my best played game, I think. I think this was a mistake that I could have made better decisions. Yeah. It was 3 food, minimal points. We didn't activate it very many times. Anyways, let's just see what the result was. Just to double check, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just 5. You had 6, yeah. So proud. Alright, now it's asking for spent nectar. Move this over so we can see. We had 1 in the forest, 6 in the grassland, and 3 in the wetland. So tied grassland, lost the other 2. That's pretty typical of nectar. Alright, so now we need to add up our points here. So let's turn this off while I add this up. So we have 7 plus 6 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 5 plus 4 plus 8 plus 5. So 46 from birds. Not amazing, but not terrible. The bonus cards, platform builder, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 4 points there. And then mechanical engineer, just to double check, I think we got both. So we have ground, bowl, platform, cavity, so that's those 4. And then we have ground, bowl, and then 2 wilds, so that's 8. 8 points there. Oops. That's 8. Birds that have at least 1 egg laid on them. 2, 4, 9. So another 6. So pretty good on bonus cards. 18. I still think we're going to get demolished here at the end. So 3. Now we're counting eggs. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 eggs. And we had 0 cached food, tucked cards. We had a few. I guess I'll hide this here. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8, and the final score. Wow, closer than I thought. I thought at the end there we were going to lose by a lot, like probably by 15 plus points. But yeah. So it's tough. That last round for the end of round goals. If we had gained 7 and it had gained 4, I think is second place at the end of round goals. Let me grab my sheet here. We'll check it. So it would have been +3 for us, -3 for them. So that would have been a tie right off the bat, just from had we won that end of round goal. If we had tied that end of round goal, instead of them gaining 7, they would have gained 5. So it would have been -2. And we would have gained 5 instead of 4. So it would have been +1. We still would have lost if we tied, but only by, it would have been what, 116 to 119? Only by 3 instead of 6. So just based on card sequence for the Automa in the last round, could have had a significant impact on the result there. Had the Nectar in the grassland, like, had we won that instead of tying, we would have been +2, and, right, 7 divided by 2 would have been 3, so we would have gained 2 and it would have lost 1. So that would have been closer as well. So there's a little bit of RNG at play when it's, a 6-point difference. Those last little pieces of RNG are the things that spring to mind immediately. That said, I'm not blaming the loss on RNG because, as I have pointed out a few times already, I really do think I overvalued the Lazuli bunting and paid a pretty significant price for that. I think it is very plausible that bunting, had I played a different card instead, or waited a bit more and gone through more cards, maybe stocked up on food so I could play a better card, I think we could have had a 6-point difference, made a 6-point improvement over this card. Imagine had I just stocked up a bunch of extra seeds and then dumped those into the Sandhill Crane, because I think there were 2 or 3 times when this didn't get activated, so if we had a similar value card but then also activated the Sandhill Crane more times, I could have gotten there. Man, pretty close. Yeah, I'm a little surprised just looking at this that this was 115 points. It didn't feel like that high, but I think the bonus cards are what really pushed it over the edge here. Getting, this Brown Island Kiwi, North Island Brown Kiwi, excuse me, basically we discarded a 3-point bonus card and ended up with 14 points worth of bonus cards on top of this being worth 6 itself. So this was like a 19, maybe 20 point bird. So that was super valuable. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm going to be taking this into consideration in the future about the bunting and paying a bit more attention to total number of egg slots. I think at the time that I played this, I had the puffin in hand. I don't remember if I had the kiwi in hand. I probably did. And knowing that these two only have a single egg slot, that probably should have steered me away from playing the bunting at that point. In any case, I hope you found this enjoyable. It's pretty wild to me. I play this a lot off camera. I don't frequently get to play with cards like the Franklin's Gull or the Killdeer, but I think the recordings that I have done, I've had them in my opening hand at a much higher rate than I'm used to. Still have lost both of those to the Automa, somewhat due to RNG, somewhat due to some misplays on my end. But I think with the new setup here, probably be able to record a bit more of these and hopefully see what things are like when I don't have cards quite as powerful as these, or at least a different variety instead of just sitting here and playing in the grassland every turn. But yeah, so look forward to more, and thanks for watching.